Emotions are powerful. They influence our thoughts and actions. We all experience emotions, but sometimes we misunderstand them. We develop misconceptions about how to handle our feelings. These misconceptions can lead to problems. We might make bad decisions. We might damage our relationships. We might even harm our health. In this video, we will explore 4 common emotional misconceptions. We will learn how to recognize them. We will discuss why it's important to understand our emotions. By understanding our emotions, we can live healthier, happier lives. We can build stronger relationships. We can achieve our goals. Let's get started.
Rationalizing is when we try to explain away our emotions. We use logic to justify how we feel. We might tell ourselves that our feelings are not valid. For example, imagine you are passed over for a promotion. You feel disappointed and hurt, but you tell yourself that you didn't really want the promotion anyway. You say it would have been too much work. This is rationalizing. You are trying to make yourself feel better by using logic, but your feelings are still there, even if you don't want to acknowledge them. Rationalizing can be harmful. It prevents us from dealing with our emotions in a healthy way.
Resisting emotions is when we try to push our feelings down. It's a common reaction when we face emotions that are uncomfortable or overwhelming. We might think that by ignoring or suppressing these feelings we can make them go away. But in reality, this often leads to more distress. We don't want to feel them. We might believe that showing or even acknowledging these emotions is a sign of weakness. Society often teaches us to put on a brave face, to keep going no matter what. But this can be harmful in the long run. We might try to distract ourselves. We turn to our phones, binge-watch TV shows, or lose ourselves in work. These distractions can provide temporary relief, but they don't address the root of the problem. The emotions are still there, lurking beneath the surface. We might try to numb ourselves with food, alcohol, or drugs. These substances can dull the pain for a while, but they come with their own set of problems. Overeating can lead to health issues. Alcohol can become addictive, and drugs can have serious side effects. Numbing ourselves is not a sustainable solution. Imagine you are afraid of public speaking. This is a common fear that many people experience. The thought of standing in front of a crowd with all eyes on you can be terrifying. You have a presentation at work. You are terrified. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your mind goes blank. You might feel like running away or calling in sick, but you know you have to face it. You try to ignore your fear. You tell yourself that it's just nerves, that you'll be fine once you start. You might take deep breaths or try to calm yourself down, but the fear is still there, gnawing at you. You tell yourself that it's silly to be afraid. You might think that other people don't get this scared, that there's something wrong with you, but fear is a natural response to a perceived threat. It's your body's way of preparing you for action. This is resisting your emotions. You are trying to push the fear away, to pretend it doesn't exist. But this only creates more tension and anxiety. The more you resist, the stronger the fear becomes. You are trying to fight against your natural response. Your body is telling you that there's a threat, and you are trying to override that signal. This creates a conflict within you, making the fear even more intense. But this will only make your fear stronger. The more you try to suppress it, the more it will fight back. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more forcefully it will pop back up. Resisting emotions is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can keep it down for a while, but it takes a lot of effort. And eventually it will come back up, often with more force than before. It takes a lot of energy. Constantly fighting your emotions can leave you feeling drained and exhausted. It's a battle you can't win, because emotions are a natural part of being human. And eventually the ball will pop back up, often with more force than before. When you least expect it, those suppressed emotions can resurface, catching you off guard and overwhelming you. It's important to acknowledge and process your emotions, rather than trying to fight them.
Restyling emotions is when we try to change our emotions into something else. It's a common defense mechanism that many of us use, often without even realizing it. We might feel one thing deeply but show something entirely different on the surface. This can be a way to protect ourselves from vulnerability or to avoid dealing with uncomfortable feelings. For instance, we might try to turn our sadness into anger. Sadness can make us feel exposed and weak, while anger can give us a sense of power and control. It's easier to lash out than to admit that we're hurting. Similarly, we might try to turn our fear into excitement. Fear can be paralyzing, but excitement can be energizing. By reframing our fear as excitement, we might feel more capable of facing whatever is causing us anxiety. For example, imagine you are going through a breakup. You are heartbroken. The pain is overwhelming, and you feel a deep sense of loss. It's a vulnerable place to be, and you might not want others to see you in such a state. But you don't want to seem weak. You don't want others to pity you or think less of you. So you put up a front. You try to mask your vulnerability with a different emotion. So you act angry instead. Anger feels more powerful. It feels like something you can control. You might think that if you show anger, people will respect you more, or at least leave you alone. You lash out at your ex. You might say things you don't mean, things that are hurtful and spiteful. In the moment, it feels like a release, a way to channel your pain into something more manageable. You tell everyone how much you hate them. You vent to your friends, painting your ex as the villain in your story. It feels good to have others on your side, to have them validate your feelings of anger. This is restyling your emotions. It's a way to cope, but it's not a healthy one. Deep down, you know that the anger is just a mask for the sadness and hurt you truly feel. You are trying to protect yourself from feeling pain. But in doing so, you are not allowing yourself to truly process and heal from the experience. The pain is still there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be acknowledged. But this will only prolong the healing process. By not facing your true emotions, you are delaying the inevitable. The pain will continue to fester, and it might even grow stronger over time. Masking our true feelings prevents us from processing them authentically. It creates a barrier between our true selves and the world. We might think we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually doing more harm than good. It hinders our ability to heal and grow. True healing comes from facing our emotions head-on, no matter how painful they might be. It's about being honest with ourselves and allowing ourselves to feel the full range of our emotions. Only then can we truly move forward and find peace.
Ignoring emotions is when we try to pretend our feelings don't exist. We often think that by pushing our emotions aside, we can avoid the pain and discomfort they bring. But in reality, this avoidance only serves to deepen our emotional wounds. We avoid anything that might trigger them. This can mean steering clear of certain places, people, or activities that remind us of our emotions. For instance, if social situations make us anxious, we might start avoiding gatherings altogether. We might stay busy all the time. By filling our schedules to the brim, we create a distraction from our feelings. Work, hobbies, and even mundane tasks become tools to keep our minds occupied, so we don't have to face what's really going on inside. We might isolate ourselves from others. Isolation can feel like a safe haven where we don't have to confront our emotions or explain them to anyone else. But this solitude can also lead to feelings of loneliness and depression. Imagine you are grieving the loss of a loved one. The pain is so intense that you can't bear to think about it. So you try to push it away, hoping that if you don't acknowledge it, it will eventually fade. You are overwhelmed with sadness. Every memory, every thought of your loved one brings a wave of grief that feels unbearable. Instead of allowing yourself to feel this sadness, you try to suppress it. You throw yourself into your work. By immersing yourself in tasks and responsibilities, you create a barrier between yourself and your emotions. Work becomes a refuge, a place where you can focus on something other than your pain. You avoid talking about your loved one. Conversations about them are too painful, so you steer clear of any mention of their name or memories. This avoidance creates a wall between you and others who might want to offer support. You refuse to look at their pictures. The sight of their face brings back too many emotions, so you hide away photos and mementos. This act of avoidance might seem like it's helping, but it's actually preventing you from processing your grief. This is ignoring your emotions. By not allowing yourself to feel, you are denying a fundamental part of your human experience. Emotions, Even the painful ones are a natural response to life's events. You are trying to protect yourself from pain. It's a natural instinct to want to shield ourselves from hurt. But in doing so, we often end up causing more harm in the long run. But this will only make the pain worse in the long run. Unaddressed emotions don't just disappear, they linger and grow, often manifesting in physical symptoms like headaches, fatigue, or even chronic illnesses. Ignoring our emotions doesn't make them disappear. Instead, it allows them to fester and potentially manifest in unhealthy ways. This can lead to increased anxiety, depression, and a host of other mental health issues. It allows them to fester and potentially manifest in unhealthy ways. By acknowledging and addressing our emotions, we can begin to heal. It's important to remember that feeling our emotions is not a sign of weakness, but a step towards recovery and emotional well-being.